cut เอาใหม่อ๋อใช่ So welcome to our podcast, and our podcast is about a sustainable life. And this is me, Bua, and this is John Paul. And yeah, let's get started.
Okay. So, imagine that you're 6 hours into a 9-hour train ride, and you have 3 hours left, and you're thinking, why didn't I take that 1-hour flight instead?
Yeah. And
So, about 6 months ago, I was deciding between booking a flight into the train, and at the time I was doing an experiment for tracking my carbon footprint, which we'll discuss later. And planes are about 10 times the carbon footprint as riding a train. So
Yeah.
I chose the train.
yeah. So like try to reduce your carbon footprint is not just, so for many people they would think about trying to change their, for example, toothbrush to the more eco-friendly toothbrush, like a wooden toothbrush, and like change these little things, but actually the main part of the carbon footprint that we make is actually by like using energy and also like transportation, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about our carbon footprint. So actually we were trying to be more sustainable in our lifestyle, and it started from there. And John Paul is trying to look at how can we really contribute to the carbon footprint reduction in our lifestyle, because it's not just trying to like having your reusable cup, but it's more, it involves a lot more activities in your life.
Often the hardest ones to control, unfortunately, are the biggest contributors.
Yeah.
Like where your electricity comes from, if your house is well insulated.
Yeah,
Do you have family or friends that visit far away?
right. And and also the reason that we want to try to be more conscious about like global warming and try to reduce the carbon footprint is because we see a lot going on in like today's world that maybe the policies or the government, they don't really work fast enough
They
in
don't
this area.
treat it like the crisis that it is quickly becoming for much of the world.
Yeah.
And so I asked myself, if I truly believe that global warming is a global crisis, what am I doing? How am I behaving, and is it in line with believing that it's something that we have to address?
Yeah. Yeah. So and as we don't, that time we don't really have anything to do because we're unemployed and we don't need to go anywhere. So we started to track our carbon footprint, right? So
This kind of started from having read a book called How Bad Are Bananas? That gives you kind of a estimated carbon footprint from something as simple as a paper towel in a bathroom, or drying your hands to obviously a banana, beef and milk, and then something like buying a car, a forest fire, a volcano explosion, kind of orders of magnitude from less than a gram of carbon dioxide up to like millions or billions of,
So what do they
tons of
say
carbon
in that book?
dioxide. So it talks a little bit about how you would estimate a carbon footprint, different methods
By
used.
yourself?
Probably more academic because most companies don't tell you the carbon footprint of it, and you, in today's world, you don't know where your banana came from. Maybe it says the Philippines, but where in the Philippines, who grew it, how did it get to wherever you are, you don't know.
Yeah. And the carbon footprint is essentially the emission of the greenhouse gases and not only carbon dioxide. So there are, but carbon dioxide is the main gas among the greenhouse gases, and like so we are right now. They say that if we want to keep the world like the temperature not to increase more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, we can only emit like how many tons?
2.5 tons of
2.5
carbon per person
per year
worldwide per year by 2030.
Yeah.
And 1 ton of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is around a 10-meter sphere of air, which doesn't seem like that much to me, but when you consider that there are 7 billion people in the world, that's a lot of air.
Right. Yeah. So after you read the book, you started also help us track our activities from eating, commuting, heating, cooling, like every activities that we could track. We even measure, like for food, we even measure each ingredient, like how much we use and how much they say emit.
Yeah, so
carbon.
We chose to primarily count when we would buy things. For example, if we bought a carrot, we would weigh the carrot, and then we would look up online with a number of potential sources.
It's not easy, right?
Yeah.
To get accurate number, but we have used some sources here. For example, like gov.uk. In that website, they have like Excel files with categories like business travel, energy you use, or things like that, or cars, and you can look at, like for example, car and how many kilometers, like per kilometer, how much carbon emission made or something like that. So that website will tell you that they have a lot of like information there, but I think it's more like the files or the data for the companies
Probably.
to use.
I used it to find the carbon intensity, which is kind of the name for how much carbon for a unit of whatever for water supply and sewage treatment, because it was not readily available, and that was the best source.
And that's in UK though.
Yes.
To be fair. And another one is the Carbon Cloud. This is a Swedish company, and in their website they have the page resources, and then under there they have a database that you can search on your, I think, food.
Yeah.
Primarily of how much carbon they emit. And like for example, this website is also like this website is kind of platform or
Yeah.
like a software as a service thing business that for example the brand Oatly, the oat milk brand also use this website to track their carbon footprint.
It
And what else?
appears relatively comprehensive, but it relies on users or companies inputting the data. So you can get very large differences in
Yes.
carbon estimates.
I see that they have a column that you can see from what country the food is tracked, like the carbon is tracked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another source that I started with is a study by Poor and Nemec.
The name is a little
Nemesek.
bit hard to pronounce.
Reducing food's environmental impacts through producers and consumers. That's shown on Our World in Data for food, and it gives you a really quick feeling for what foods are the most impactful. For example, nuts are almost no carbon footprint, partially because they're often grown on trees, and trees can capture carbon. And depending on how you eat it, there are minimal processing.
Yeah. And maybe they use a lot of fertilizer for nuts as well. Maybe.
Potentially, yeah. I think fruit trees
And water.
especially can be in that case. That is something to note. Carbon footprint does not track pollution, for example, plastic pollution,
Yeah.
or water use or
Right.
pollution
Right.
in general. So some of the trades that don't make sense from a carbon perspective, a reusable bag compared to a plastic bag, the plastic bag is lower carbon.
Yeah.
But for pollution, plastic pollution, the reusable bag is better.
Yeah.
But from the Our World in Data food, you can pretty easily see that like red meats, beef, lamb, are quite bad. The worst being cows that are raised in land that used to be forested. So, for example, beef, in this case, dairy herd, is 33 kilograms of CO2 per kilogram of beef. And I am assuming that in this case it's grown on land that was already either like a meadow or potentially in buildings. Whereas beef, which they call beef herd, is almost 100 kilograms of CO2.
Yeah.
And I, once again, am assuming that this is the case for, say, beef grown in or cows raised in the Amazon, where they chop down the rainforest to raise the cattle.
Yeah. So yeah, we did this experiment for 2 weeks, right?
About 2 weeks, yeah. Which is around when reality set in, and the practicality of measuring every ingredient that you buy and looking it up to see what the carbon footprint is, and every clothing that you do,
Yeah.
and your internet usage. For example, Apple computers don't readily tell you how much data you used.
Yeah. Yeah, you track the data you use in your computer, so you see also like the carbon footprint in that area. And also we got a
smart plug.
Yeah.
That actually was very useful because I could estimate how much is the AC using, how much is all of the electronics that we use on a daily basis, and it was just a fraction of our total electricity use. And it helped me realize that our water heater was using well over half of our electricity use. It was designed to heat at night, and it was set to heat way more water than we used to a higher temperature than we needed. So simply by changing that setting, we could reduce our electricity use by like a significant amount every day.
Yeah. And so what is the result? What's the result?
So from that experiment, the numbers varied pretty widely day to day, but we were around, say, 3 kilograms of carbon each per day, up to almost 20 on days when we, for example, ate out at a restaurant that had primarily meat, beef-based food. And after our experiment, for example, if we flew, you could, on the low end, be at 100 kilograms up to tons of carbon. When we kind of took that 2 weeks and we estimated based on our like eating habits for the whole year, we ended up around 3 tons or 3,000 kilograms of carbon dioxide each.
So for global average, it's around 5 tons. Per person per year, and we do a little bit better. And for Japan, for example, they do
close to 8 tons.
Close to 8 ton per capita
we can
per
see
year, according to the emission database of Global Atmospheric Research in 2023.
And that breakdown is kind of like almost 1.5 tons from food, 2.4 from housing, which we experienced because most apartments here are very poorly insulated. 2 tons from transportation, which makes sense since they have good public transportation. Around 1 ton from goods, things that are purchased, and then about
what about power production?
I believe that would go into housing. And then almost a ton from leisure, which I'm not actually sure what does leisure mean. Maybe that's if you go like out to see a movie or something similar to that, which is actually a hard area to accurately capture.
And so in Japan, it's a power production, right? That is the major greenhouse gas emission costs.
So in Japan, it's almost like 0.4 to 0.5 kilograms per kilowatt hour, which globally is not the worst, but it's quite bad.
And when we see from the data in International Energy Agency, we see that the electricity in Japan mostly coming from like coal, natural gas, and nuclear. Well, maybe the main 2 energy that they use to produce their electricity is from coal and natural gas.
Japan has actually gotten a lot worse since, I would guess, the tsunami in 2011, because it went from nuclear being a significant, maybe 30%.
They have shut down by a lot.
It dropped off massively. But it means that the average person in Japan has very little to no control over the carbon intensity of their electricity.
But right now, Japan has a new policy that a new building or the new apartment needs to install the solar panel. You heard?
I've seen articles, English articles are not readily available, but I saw some from a number of years ago suggesting creating a policy like that. So we're not sure if it was implemented or not, but for example, we now live in a new apartment with solar panels
Yeah,
and double pane windows.
but they don't have battery.
But there's no battery and the water heater is gas. So we're only able to use about half of our electricity from the solar panels because we're at work when the sun is shining for the most part. But even with that, we're estimating that our total electric and combined gas will have about half of the emissions as compared to our old apartment without solar and with the single pane windows.
Yeah. Let's go back to the data usage a little bit. So, there were last week or last month there was a news in CNN talking about how bad the AI is compared to like AI and normal search engine. So the AI would actually emit 10 times more than search engine. So if you use a search engine, if you use a generative AI, like each word will be called what is it?
A token?
A token, and when you put the token IDs in,
That I'm not sure about.
like they will go to the data center, and for AI, the data center is like very big, and that consume also a lot of energy in terms of keeping them alive. So you need to use a lot of electricity.
Yeah, the processing units for driving AI, primarily graphics cards, draw a lot of power, and because they use a lot of power, they generate a lot of heat, and that has to be cooled to prevent them from being damaged and to continue operating optimally. So they both draw a lot of power to process and a lot of power to cool the data centers that run the queries.
Yeah. And the smarter it is, the more energy it consumes.
Generally speaking, yes.
According to the research. Yeah. So is there any surprises that you found during the experiment that we did during those 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think I was quite surprised by how bad Japan's energy grid intensity is. For example, we found ourselves saying, do we want to be cold to try to save electricity? Or in the winter with the heat pump, which is our heating system, it could get very dry. Do we want to be able to sleep well and run a humidifier, or do we want to save electricity? Because some months we would use over like 600 kilowatts.
Yeah.
Which that's around 300 kilograms of carbon for the two of us for a month. And our monthly budget for 2030 is only 200 kilograms. So at 300, so for two of us, that would be 400 kilograms. Just the electricity that month would be almost the entire budget without food or anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. And one more interesting thing here is that when we track our food, we realize that, for example, if we eat meat, like one meat dish can be equal, can be equal to like
About an entire day's,
or 2 days
yeah.
of our carbon emission. So yeah, just choosing to not eat red meat would also help quite a bit.
I was also a little surprised by internet usage for
Mm.
people who like to stream a lot or download games or other things. I estimated through like a website that kind of went through the energy usage of data centers and a few other aspects that 100 gigabytes of data is around 6 kilograms of CO2. Which,
And 100 gigabyte of data is, what do you do? Like one YouTube video or?
no, it's probably hours of like, for example, 20 minutes of 4K video is in raw format, say around 20 gigabytes. So if you're a content creator and you upload 100 gigabytes of data, that's not a lot of video. But on YouTube, 4K, 20 minutes of 4K video may only be about 5 gigabytes. But if you're like me, you probably watch an hour of video a day, maybe 30 minutes of video a day. And so that could be 30 hours. And if you're people who love games, one game could be 30 gigabytes easily. So it's not difficult in our society today to consume at least 100 gigabytes of data a month.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we also didn't continue because it's quite annoying, or it's
Yes.
also like it makes our life hard.
I think there's also the psychological aspect for me, knowing that everything that I did had a carbon footprint is kind of difficult. I'm not one to choose to ignore the problems in the world, but when you can't control it and you're constantly thinking like, wow, here I am contributing to global warming.
Yeah, but
It's
we need
difficult.
to also live a balanced life. We can compromise something, but we still want to have this well-being and like more relaxed and not to like you cannot do anything lifestyle. So yeah, we yeah.
I think my recommendation, if other people wanted to try it, would be try to find an app that gives you flexibility to add your meals and such, so that you're not entering everything and you don't have to research it all yourself. But be aware that some apps are very high level and they won't really give you actionable insight.
Yeah.
Because they're too broad of scope.
Right.
For example, we never would have known that our water heater was such a large use of electricity if I didn't buy the smart plug to figure out where the usage was coming from.
Yeah, right. Actually, everyone can start to look at what they are doing and not, I think you can start with seeing, and then can, like, when you see, and you know where to improve or not.
Probably for many people in the Western world, the easiest thing that they could do is every time they choose to eat a meal and they have an option between beef and any other meat other than lamb, for example, say pork or chicken or fish, choose one of those options. It doesn't have to be between beef and a veggie burger. It could just be between a burger and grilled chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
That by itself for heavy meat eaters will make a really massive difference.
Yeah. And I think Japan is really bad in that sense because like all of the foreigners coming from anywhere in the world, they want to eat wagyu. They want to eat Japanese meat.
Mm. And I have to imagine that Wagyu is very carbon intense.
Mm.
There's not a lot of land here,
Yeah.
and it's likely that the cows are.
Or maybe they import their wagyu. I don't know. It's possible.
We do see a lot of beef from Australia or even the United
We
States
have
here.
pork from America.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the other takeaway that I had is that from a carbon footprint standpoint, buying a reusable straw or a reusable bag in a short period of time does not reduce your carbon footprint. It
Yeah.
increases it.
Yeah.
But if we think beyond just a carbon footprint to pollution, I believe that it's still a good choice.
Yeah.
But it's a good choice only if you use it as much
In
as
a
you're able to.
certain certain amount of times and not like you use this one 5 times and you want a new one and that
Yes.
it's not no good.
So a sustainable water bottle is not a steel water bottle that looks new and shiny. It's one that has signs of wear from many, many uses.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we also have some like small things that we do and we think other people can also do very easily. For example, if you're in your area, you can choose a green energy plan. You can shift to that like easy, no effort. So yeah, or for example, I just switched from Google search to Ecosia. This is like a search engine that when every time you search, they earn some money, and with that money, they plant some trees. So yeah, this is how I chose to contribute like indirectly to this carbon footprint reduction. And also I track my clothes. I made this spreadsheet with all the photo of my clothes and how many shorts, how many t-shirt, long sleeve shirt that I have, and also are they made with the natural materials or not. And I try to keep the number low. Right now I have like hundreds and something. I think it's not low, but maybe it's not too crazy. So I try to still, my mission this year is to keep it as is or reduce or retire some.
We also try to buy used clothes, which is much easier in Japan than in America. The used clothing stores carry like clothing in good condition. And we've tried to buy used electronics.
Yeah, like Mercari in Japan is quite reliable. And Second Street. For Second Street, it's even nicer because if you buy like electronics, you can return
if there's a problem.
If there's a problem, yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem is that you need to have them shipped.
You have to ship, and shipping is not free
And I
from a
think
carbon
shipping
standpoint.
in Japan is still not green. They
No.
don't have green option.
Mm.
Still run by cars.
Cars. Yeah.
Run by diesel.
Probably mostly gas here.
Yeah.
But there's also a question of, are used items free from a carbon standpoint? They're not, in that they end up in a store, and the store has a carbon footprint. But the question I ask myself is, would it drive demand for new items to be produced? And for clothing, I think today the answer is no. There's much more clothing produced than is needed.
Yeah.
So buying used probably does not result in more demand for the new items to be produced. The question is less clear for something like a used iPhone, because they're relatively quality. It's likely that most iPhones are used until they stop working.
Yeah.
So I think the reality of trying to reduce your carbon footprint to a 1.5 degree C lifestyle for most people
You think
is
it's
that
possible?
you can't control the most important things.
Yeah. The major emission.
Yes. You can live a more Spartan lifestyle. You can turn the AC on less.
Yeah.
Or the heat less.
Yeah.
But to some degree,
depending on where you live.
Yes. Heat can kill and cold can kill. So you can't reduce your electricity use to zero.
Yeah.
You can't live in a building that has no carbon used to produce, like, build it. You have to eat food, and your food probably isn't zero carbon unless you're organically farming and you didn't buy a tractor or anything else.
Yeah.
But depending on the country that you live in, you can get very close to the 2030 target.
Yeah.
As we experienced here in Japan. I think for most people, for example, in America, that don't live in a city with good,
they need
maybe
to
not
commute far.
good public transportation, but even available public transportation,
Yep.
they have no choice. And purely owning a car, especially a gas car, almost automatically makes it impossible for you to meet kind of the 2030 goal. So I think that we can make decisions, diet being the one that I see is the one we have the most control over. But we still need larger change.
Yeah. And also we can choose to not to consume more, because when we buy new stuff, we encourage the manufacturers to produce more and more. So let's say, for example, if one day we stop buying new clothes, so 2 people, and then like more people do so, the clothing brands,
we'll have to find another way.
Figure out how to sell or earn more money with other method. So it can also start from us and start from little things. Like it can be just little thing better than yesterday, but it will at the end be something.
For example, my not flying that one time didn't stop that plane from flying.
Right.
But if 50 or 100 other people had made the same decision as me, then that plane wouldn't have flown because the airline couldn't have afforded to.
Yeah. But we also would not say that we won't do anything that emit greenhouse gases, right?
I think the hardest decision for us is, do we fly internationally to visit our family? Because for me, a single international flight to visit
Yeah.
my family by itself
Can be
is
up
twice,
to 10 tons.
yeah, up to 10 tons, potentially more if you fly
From
really
Japan
far,
to New York, for example, it's up to 10 tons of carbon emission.
which is over three times. I
Yeah.
guess it's close to four
Of
times
the
2030 goal.
the allowance that we can.
And that, maybe sailboats are the solution too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think our experience and our experiment can be something useful or be a small inspiration for other people.
Mm.
And yeah, we will also keep doing better in terms of building our own more eco-friendly lifestyle.
Mm. While there are many things we cannot control, there are still many that we can.
Yeah. Yep. So that's all for this episode.
Yes.
And thank you for watching or listening.
Have a good day.
Yeah.